There we are now. We're live on the YouTube. Good evening, folks. It's approximately 9:30 on this glorious day of the 4th of March 2021. Still in a fucking pandemic. You're very welcome. We've been on a little bit of a holiday the last couple of weeks. Myself, Jimmy, and Vanessa headed off to Tenerife to get our teeth done, believe it or not. Hence, we're all sparkling for tonight's show.
Is it too late for the gas for a refund? I don't know.
But you hang on now, be fair. Jimmy just put his in a jiffy bag and posted them over.
Oh, ouch. Ouch.
No, I tell you, lads, I'm in great form.
Well, there you have it. So joining whoever, joining us as usual tonight. She's in Crumlin. She's the Countess of Crumlin. She's got a bigger mafia out there than Don Corleone does in Sicily. Vanessa Bourne. Hi, Vanessa.
Hi, everyone. Hi, good evening. Thanks for joining us. Short notice, I know, but thanks. You're more than welcome.
Glitzy and glamorous for some reason. Why would you be glitzy and glamorous tonight?
Well, it's Eurovision. We have a very special guest, so you leave it all up to you. Nick.
And then going over the north side, no glitz and glamour over the north side. You take the man and you take him as he is. He doesn't need sparkly tops to shine. He's already shining on his shiny head.
That's correct.
Jimmy Smith, how's it going, Jimmy?
Nice to be here. If there's a Crumlin Mafia, do they have a kind of a omerta? What's the Crumlin equivalent of omerta, Vanessa?
Gosh, I don't know.
Townies. I was going to say the
no, you wouldn't hear that expression here at all. No.
Townies.
I'll find out though. I'll find out from the girls. The girls. Everywhere. Around here, everything is when they meet people. I'm going up to the girls. I should have gone to the girls. What they're talking about are the tellers in the credit union. They know everything.
They know
everything that's going.
I have my Crumlin sources also. I might consult with them. Who are possibly real mafiosi, but anyway.
Wouldn't catch any of that malarkey on the north side.
Yeah, but you wouldn't see that activity here. Honestly, it's just the best place to live.
Funny enough, I'm watching that Gomorrah, which is a Sky series. Have you seen it? Italian series. It's kind of like The Sopranos, but without any pretense at normalcy. It's just savagery, and it's set in Naples with these kind of drug lords. It's fantastic. It's an Italian.
Do you know that sounds very like it, though it's not. It's do you know we were talking a few weeks ago about Gabriel Byrne's new show?
Oh yeah,
000. Yeah, there's a touch.
Same guy, same director, actually.
Oh, there's the name dropping. Jesus, we're not in 2 minutes.
I didn't drop names. It's just the same guy. That's all I said.
And if you were joining us tonight, or if you're watching us tomorrow, you could comment on the Broadsheet page on the article, or you can comment in the chat box on YouTube. And you can say what you want on YouTube because the comments get deleted after the live show finishes. So all your fan mail for Jimmy, two-time Grammy Award nominee Jimmy Smith, or Vanessa.
Two-time loser, then that is pretty much.
I didn't want to say it.
Hey, I take a Grammy award. I take a Grammy nominee anytime. I won a prize years and years ago in my exams, so I get to say I'm an ACCA prize winner. My name is on a wall somewhere. With these schools.
It's typical Vanessa stealing.
And you know what, lads?
We were having a Jimmy moment.
I'm buffing him up like.
I can't have anything. I know.
I would take that Grammy nominee anytime instead of the crap biros or. I
did win a gold medal in the Fesh Cole when I was 7 years old.
I tell you, Jimmy, if I was congratulating you on your Oscar nominee, Vanessa would have jumped in and said, "Oh, that reminds me of the time Meryl Streep got me to hold her Oscar while she peed."
The Fesh statue. I won the Cork gas cooking competition.
Enough about you. Let's just talk about how awesome I am. Is that the kind of is that where you're going with that?
Right. Before we lose our last remaining viewer,
just picking on Vanessa now.
Before we lose all one of them, let's talk about something a little bit more serious. So over the past week, we've seen protests in Dublin. Last week, we've seen parties in Limerick and other parties that weren't necessarily as highlighted by the media. But we're talking about the protest at the weekend, where there was a large turnout by pandemic standards in and around the Stephen's Green area. And of course, there was that famous video clip where an unnamed male individual, fired a firework into the guards.
He has been named, by the way.
He has been named. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Merriman.
He has been arrested. Yeah, I was where he was arrested.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we've all seen the video clips and the scenes that erupted following that. But what's interesting about it, and maybe, to throw the question out to you both, what's interesting about it is, when this happens, what happened? The whole protest as such gets branded as a bunch of people who don't care about frontline workers and, are just out to cause trouble, which is probably an unfair reflection. But I just want to get your take on what Saturday was meant to be and what turned out, and what that means for anyone who's unhappy with lockdown at the moment.
Okay, can I jump in there? I mean, it's like, the interesting thing about this is that I think there's 2,000 people. That's what I've heard. I've seen some clips. People were trying to tell me there was a few hundred people. I have a good eye for crowds. It was certainly in the thousands or the high hundreds, maybe certainly 2,000, I would have thought. At one point, certainly in the GPO, the clips were too scattered and random in Grafton Street of the famous rocket going off and stuff. But I had a couple of discussions with, there seems to be an overwhelming narrative about Jimmy. My point was, well, I know some of the people that were there, actually. I have a friend of my late sister's who's a beauty consultant, a hairdresser, nails person, least political person probably you'd ever know, but she's broke. She's very much in, she knows that woman in Balbriggan, and she went over there to support her when she opened up her beauty salon. Now, the legality of that is one thing. The morality of it is another thing. So she goes up to Dublin. She's from Navan. She goes up to Dublin, and she's a kind of a middle-aged Karen. She's not an alt-right IRG or whoever the Antifa or QAnon or anything like that. She probably doesn't even know what they are. She literally went up to show some solidarity, maybe to have her voice heard. But when I reacted to what I saw on the videos on social media, I got lambasted and I got called names. And I was saying, well, look, my point is that, yes, there were a bunch of scumbags there. There's no doubt about that. We saw them. But there were also, but the narrative is, no, they were all scumbags. Everybody there. If you went there, you were expecting trouble. And I know for a fact that I just gave one example, but there are a few people I know that were there and they weren't. And it's like, when did we get this really dim view of our fellow citizens? That's a deeply worrying idea, that people stand up for the constitutional right to protest. I know they're breaking the 5K guidelines and the rules or whatever, but they're willing to do it. And it is now, Leo Varadkar in Belarus told us some months ago that he was supporting the Belarusians' right to protest in a highly problematic country with a dictator guy who's anti-gay, actually, which is kind of interesting. And now with these people...
No, Jimmy, you and I have this conversation. You have to work with who's put in front of you.
You have to work with... Fair enough. Okay, but you can't... It's goose gander scenario. You can't then just come out and label citizens as alt-right scumbag or alt-left, as Drew Harris was problematic.
Oh, Drew Harris tried it.
Well, I thought it was that. I did retract a bit, but he's deeply problematic for me anyway. But my point was that I don't, in my years in the south of Ireland, I don't remember a baton charge against citizens by the police. I don't. That's the first one I'd ever seen. There apparently was one outside Liberty Hall in the 80s, but I don't remember that.
No, Jimmy, there was something on Dame Street quite recently. Well, I say quite recently, like in the last 10 years.
A baton charge.
But there was, there was like guys getting hammered from cops, and they had the numbers stripped off and stuff.
Well, we've seen evidence of that. But though this was for me a deeply sinister the jackbooted fascism. I'm afraid that's where we're heading. And if we quell dissent in that way, this is a we have to have discussion. We have to McGurk, or what's his name, McGurk on
John
McGurk on prime. Now I know that a lot of people have a problem with him. However, he was very, very good on that. He was brilliant on the telly the other night, and it was so interesting and so refreshing to see an alternative voice on RTE. The Fine Gael hadn't a leg to stand on. and the Claiborne. Who was the girl? It wasn't Claiborne. It was some other girl.
Yeah, but sorry, Jimmy, do you mind if I chip in there? You know,
chip
the
away,
guy he
chip.
was against was Neil Redmond, right?
Yeah.
I would say John McGurk and Neil Redmond were made for each other. They literally, matching gloves, really.
Do you think politically? Well,
stop! Absolutely, they're both. I would say that. Okay. Now, McGurk would say one thing, and Neil Redmond would say something entirely different. Oh, absolutely. Their characters, their personalities, their politics, everything is identical.
But do you remember Paisley and McGuinness? Do you remember that?
McGuinness was a bit slower in tone, and there was less sort of the sort of brimstone and treacle with,
of course,
with McGuinness.
But there are personas, and they off camera they were actually buddies towards the end.
And I'm told Charlie Haughey and Thatcher were kind of now I'm not saying they were out having a fag at, outside the front door, but I'm told they quite got on with each other.
And that's that's realpolitik. We understand that, we know this. However, and I don't want to speak out too harshly on RT. I've just been invited to do the arena program in a couple of weeks, so I want to play my cards properly, because that's a paid gig. But anyway, hey, it was interesting to see a voice like that being on it. And again, that's why I would love to see primetime. Why don't they get Luke O'Neill and Dolores Cal? Why don't they do that? Have a proper ding dong, a proper get up, not just echo chamber shit.
But one thing about that sort of chipping in. I see Fluffy's coming in. Do you know one thing about that bringing in, like you proffered Dolores Cal versus Luke O'Neill, like, do you know what? It costs them nothing extra to produce, by the way.
Yeah. And it would be great.
Costs them nothing.
Can you imagine how good, even from just a purely TV point of view, see people going at each other, hammer and tongs? Yes, I will. I will pay the 150 poxy quid to watch that for the, RT just, again, optics. They're a bit like Fine Gael. They don't understand optics at all.
I don't think it's the optics. I just think they broadcast who they're told, who's given, whoever the PR is.
Anyway, we're going into RT territory, and I don't want to go there. Getting back to the weekend. So, okay, but the battering ram aside, though, I think the point you're making is, it's not the seldom side, Jimmy, that we see. I think I kind of agree with you that, this kind of labeling of the people who cause trouble, this is an inherent problem in this country that they're, I was reading tweets today about somebody who's having trouble with antisocial behavior in a housing estate with elderly parents in somewhere in the south side. But we have a huge problem with antisocial. Like, those people weren't affiliated with anyone politically. They were just out for trouble. And if the protest was for something else, they're scumbags. Sure. And anyone who's genuinely protesting responsibly about their how the pandemic's affected them, and that's gone. That's completely gone. For anyone who wanted to get that kind of message across, because it's easy for the government to jump on it and say,
sure,
brand everyone the same brush. And there is an appetite, I think, amongst the public that the protest was irresponsible. I know that there was one comedian who's on modern day comedians who are just on social media, and he happened to be, I didn't watch his videos. I didn't see his videos because he deleted them, but he was there because he was working. He happened to be working, and he took some videos and did his usual comedy thing. And he was kind of roasted online for even just like what you say there, Jimmy, about just being there. So there is that kind of focus. So I think I didn't read the article, but I think somebody called for guidelines on how to protest or how to exercise your right to protest during a pandemic. What's the right way to do it? Whether it's in vain or not, it's a different story. But I think the antisocial element. I mean, obviously the guards are aware that there's a problem with Dublin. There's a problem around the country with that, how to tackle it. Certainly from what I'd seen on Twitter today, I know it's kind of tangential, but with this antisocial behavior on the south side, the guards are very much aware and, loop around the states and then leave, and there's something they can do because there's minors. Perhaps that's about a bigger discussion around enforcement, or not enforcement, about how the law enables or.
Well, I think it would be deeply problematic for me if the sitting government were to tell me as a citizen what way I could protest and under what conditions. I mean, that's the whole point of democratic process, is that you get out and make your voice heard, shouting and slogans or whatever it is. I don't do it. I will protest, certainly. And I've been involved in public stuff, but trying to keep away from, hellion behavior by all means. But I don't want, that's kind of defeating the point of protest if the government are telling you how to do it. You know what I mean?
But given a pandemic, though, Jimmy, would you accept that there has to be some kind of, as much as no one wants to like to say it, but there has to be some element of control or structure or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what you call it.
Well, yes, but you have to predicate that with a lot of the people that were there. The pandemic, oddly, was second tier to why they were there, in my opinion, the ones I know anyway. Obviously, with troublemakers. But there were people there who aren't getting unemployment, aren't getting PUP, and that woman in Balbriggan is literally starving. Her kids she wants to open her business. It's not making sense to her how certain businesses can open. And all they want to do is have their voice heard. They're not getting the government guidelines. The communication is appalling. Let's agree on that. There's way too many mixed messages. There's obviously internecine stuff going on with Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil. There's a vote of no confidence now in Micheál Martin. Leo Varadkar's jumping in every opportunity. Simon Harris. We see it all the time, and that doesn't inspire confidence,
Yeah, and that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. And I agree. I mean, we're seeing a lot more people being vocal about the fact they want to open their business. And, reach the point where you say this is beyond the publicity stunt, because I'm not sure how much positive publicity you can get by defying health orders saying you're going to open your business, because it's in vain anyway. But, clearly there are people being pushed,
yeah, but sure, we've spoke about this since last June. We played along with lockdown up until around May. To be fair, Neil, on the show, we played along with it, but by June we knew we were ready to open up. Okay, we played along with this ourselves. But going back to the march on Saturday, right? I think it's fair to say I've written more about democracy and freedom of speech than all of us put together. And here's the thing about that event, right? I think it was a fantastic opportunity to develop a movement where, and I suppose coming from the cooperative movement, it's like in all walks of life comes together. And the last time you saw that en masse was the water protests, all walks of life. Everyone sharing what we call a common bond. And there was an opportunity for those I had just said, and you mentioned a sole trader. There was an opportunity for that to happen on a fabulous day, by the way. Like the conditions were perfect for it. And one of the most beautiful sort of ideal thoroughfares in Europe. Okay. And it just fell apart. How did it fall apart? The organisers didn't control it. If you go back to the old traditional parades and marches we had back in the day, and I'll use the example of the water protests, they were marshals all along the way. They were, people managing crowd. There was crowd control, managing that. I don't want to say it's the lack of marshals caused the problem, but the big issue is it led to two things. One is those people, those everyday people, as I like to say, right? They will be put off from showing solidarity again.
Yeah, sure.
Whether it's this or whether it's the next cause. It could well be the water protest again, because a lot of folks, that hasn't gone away.
Well, Vanessa, the biggest reason that those people will be put off, as you say, is not just that, it's actually the reaction of everybody else.
Well, I was getting to that. It was like the automatic reaction, it was the hard left. And we saw it in the capital, by the way, in the capital riots. It was, we heard reactions, it's Antifa. Like there was no evidence of that. And then we saw, it was literally, they used the expression just scurriers, kids, scurriers. Like, and I engaged with somebody over the weekend, and they were, talking about, it was just lads with a few bangers. And I said, hang on, we all deal with the scangers or bangers every year. I have a dog here. Well, actually, the night Paddy Cullivan was on the show, the scangers or bangers were going good out here. The dog was crying under the under my desk here. And it's kind of, we're used to that. And I'm not making excuses for it now either. I'm not kind of stretching it out. But like the idea that they were able to kind of twist it that way to make, sure, listen, to it, there actually was no movement. There was no cause to support or show solidarity. That's what they did. They automatically went to sort of the hard left, or it was the, young fellas acting the bollocks, rather to deliberately dissipate the fact that there was actually a movement.
Well,
now, those involved though, Jimmy, and I followed a thread of one of the guys that was there with the banners. And they were saying, that was the bangers went off, and at the start at whatever, I'm just going to say 2:00. At 2:30, it was great. People were walking down towards O'Connell Street, and I followed the thread and all the pics. Listen, let me tell you, for every 20, 30 white man under 30, or let's say 40, I'll be generous, 40, there was one woman. And it was, as I said, turn off the sound and look at it. And I swear to God, you're looking at Millwall on tour.
Well.
And that's true. It's there.
That's come up with other protests as well.
And I think that was very unfair, because they're now able to say that maybe there isn't a movement to object to lockdown. They're able to, actually, the establishment are now able to take the piss out of that your friend, the lady that's trying to open her business, she's hand to mouth. They're now able to point to that. They did the movement, or a possible collective of people coming together and say, listen, we've had enough. We've been saying it on this show. There's just the 3 or 4 of us creeping it week in, week out, saying, geez, we've had enough. Do you know what I mean? And they did themselves no favors at all. And I think that's shameful that people will be put off no matter what the next cause is. And
but it's also
do that, folks.
It's also that kind of history again. Stalin, this whole thing has made a dichotomy and a paradox, as you would say, where there are now people that are it's black and white issues all the time. And majority of people that I engaged with on social media, albeit, and I backed down because it was quite upsetting to see friends that I knew taking this really hard line stance. It's like, hold on a second, you don't know who you. First of all, I have, and then they were saying, "Oh, you made that up. You don't have any friends there, surely, or if you do, you're a alt-right Nazi." I'm going, that's just insane. And I said, you are doing the business of the bad guys. You are the useful idiot right here, right now. That's what's happened. And it's like, we can't have discussion about these things.
No tolerance. There's no tolerance in this country. And we've said it here how many times, guys? It's this divide and conquer.
It's happened.
That has been developed between Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael for a long time. Cheaters all. Arisha, that's women for you. You know what I mean? The divide and conquer, and that's what they did. Out was the alt left.
So from one group of troublemaker, actually, just for JDF Reality has made a point about, the duration of time. How long would we have to see? Which is fair. I mean, at what point do the protests become publicly acceptable, I guess, is a question. How long of a lockdown before they become publicly acceptable rather than publicly abhorrent?
Well, I think it was long past that Rubicon, Neil. I think I've talked about it before, and I said I thought it would come from kids. I thought they'd be in a romantic way, although it's deeply sinister, of course, granny killing and all that stuff. But maybe it would have been a musical move with Dame Street with some underground cellar playing punk bands. Something will have to happen. That Limerick thing in Castle Troy, I can't blame those kids. They are 23-year-old kids doing what 23-year-olds.
Oh, listen, I have a sneaking regard for them myself. That's what
I would have been doing. And if somebody wants to call me a granny killer, I mean, that's why this is such a perfect storm of a pandemic, where you can't even be irresponsible on your own. It's like you're irresponsible on everything else.
There's something interesting about the Limerick, because I did want to mention that next. The students in Limerick, the front, like, right, okay, granted, it's definitely not something that should be happening in the pandemic, but my thoughts were kind of similar, Jimmy, as in, the students are cracking. Their pace of life is very different than ours. Not that it makes an excuse, but we're seeing more reports about the effect on the young versus the effect on those of us who are older. I'm young, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Clarify, Jimmy.
We got that, Neil. We got that.
But that aside, like, this is front page headline stuff. This is, I think the thing that kind of draws my attention most is the fact that a lot of these kids may be, well, not a lot, but they're at risk of expulsion. Now we do have penalties.
That's
in
bollocks.
That is bollocks.
Yeah, we have penalties in place.
We have
but
a
this
fucking promoted
judge,
judge,
we do have to remember that RT had a lobby party. We do have to remember that
exactly
Golfgate,
Golfgate,
and there was, I think, the Independent made reference to some other parties over the weekend that weren't in the news as such, that large parties and weddings and stuff like that. Expulsion of students, is this the direction? Is this the punitive action we should be taking? Depriving people of education.
But that's why I do worry about fascism. I do worry.
But it's not fascism. Sorry, it is fascism, but it's actually pathetic. It's pathetic because they won't. As Neil used the example of the RT Lovies and the going away party, and then you have the Golfgate and your man, the Supreme Court judge, your man fighting it out. It's
Brian Hayes on the telly. Brian Hayes on the telly last night. Yeah.
Lads don't, the kids don't, when I don't want to say kids, you're students, you're adults now, and you vote, and you're probably paying rent and feeding yourself, so you're a bit more than kids. But why pick on them? Just get your own act together. Listen, lads, water only flows one way. You look at Davies. Davies knew they could do what the fuck they like. Because do you know what? You're doing what the fuck you like.
But Vanessa, it's a given that we know the government are letting. I'm talking about our fellow citizens are now doing the job of the government. They're becoming the unpaid policemen for these kids, outraged, angry of Malahide, whatever the hell it is about these kids.
It's cheat us all. Oh, remember they used to have the ads about the insurance people? That were doing the dodgy claims. They used to have them on the back of buses. Same thing. Or the TV license sponger.
Of course, the spongers beware. But just before we close out in this, and it is germane, even though Neil will think it's a red herring. Texas and Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm saying, watch these places. Watch what happens in the next 3 weeks or a
militia.
Month. Well, that could be it, but on the most superficial level, if there's not 1 million people dead there in the next month, what the hell have we been locked down for the last 9 months? That's all.
I think I take your point, Jimmy, but I think you will probably see a percentage of the population there that won't, just take it as a free for all. I don't know how much of a measure it can use. It is, we would expect to see a spike, but just because the governor, lifts those restrictions doesn't necessarily mean everyone's going to go back to the gym and go to
true. But then now what you're talking about is people are taking personal responsibility. That's what we need. We need people to take personal responsibility for themselves, not bigger government telling us that we've less and less freedoms, but to take responsibility. Yes, wear a mask if you think you should. If you think it's the right thing to do, by all means. Don't endanger anybody. What they're going to do, open your business if you have to. Yes, of course, following all the rules.
Yeah, but you know what, folks? I think Texas is actually going to be a better example as to who was right and who was wrong here. Because, in fairness to Texas, it went red, or it was red, and then it stayed red, but only just.
Well, did it? Yeah,
you know what I mean. So
also
you have a very divided community there. It's not like Georgia where it's all one way and there's just a minority. It's pretty tight, and also who's going to Anders Tegnell had said, "Judge me in the end." When they're all celebrating, he was brilliant. He said, "Judge me in the end."
Judge me in the end, exactly.
And I'm using that. I'm relying on that. Listen, I'm not deciding who's right or who's wrong or whatever.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I want to see at the end of all this,
in a month's time,
who died from what and how many.
We've made the point. Today is the 4th of March.
Oh, it's supposed to be the awakening today.
Incidentally, the dawnless day. Yeah. No, not yet anyway. But so in a month's time, on the 4th of April, let's come back to this and just let's have a look and see what's happened in Texas, because that will tell us exactly what's happening, what has been going on.
Well, the other thing as well, though, is the vaccination rate in the US is a lot higher than here. So
so is the population. So I mean, maybe not per capita.
Well, no, they would definitely have. I mean, certainly.
No, per head, it's quite high. It's very high. Yeah. Well, in fact, my sister and her husband and my niece and nephew have all been vaxxed. From a long way before my father was.
Yeah, I know of people who wouldn't have any would be in their 30s that wouldn't have any particular reason to be bumped up a priority queue who have started their vaccination. So I know what you're saying, Jimmy and Vanessa. I just don't think it's going to be in any way a measure of reality. If anything, it will maybe show that vaccinations work and we can probably relax things sooner than we think. Not if Ireland gets its way, because we don't want to relax anything this year. But anyway, we're going to move on because we do have a big feature. But before we do, there was one other thing I wanted to briefly bring up, and that was we're used to looking at Northern Ireland from the outside in and all the naughty things they're doing up there. But things have changed kind of rapidly, and we're getting digs from Arlene there today saying, Republic of Ireland's going to hold us back now with their vaccinations.
I'm waiting for Fine Gael to come out and blame Sinn Féin for the success of the vaccinations in the US.
Yeah, but you know what though, folks? We can actually we can go up there and go on apply for a vaccination up there because we have a shared agreement. Like we here down there, there's been a NHS Northern Ireland's kind of caring agreement for donkey's years. Like say all their early babies, they come down here to be minded rather than set up the units up there. Yeah.
But
and actually, ladies, girls up there, if you looking for a termination, come on down here. You're more than welcome.
But another thing I read today, Ryanair announced a shitload of routes. I think is the official
Belfast,
phrase. A shitload of routes from Belfast to holiday destinations for the summer. I think from June, so it's a big announcement. And as we approach summer, and let's assume that the NPHET guidance isn't going to change, that no paddies should be travelling on their hollybobs outside of the boundaries of the nation this year. I mean, the elephant in the room is, if Ryanair even decided to stop flying from Dublin, you can jump on a plane in Belfast, and there will reach a point where it'll be hard to justify stopping inter-county travel if rates are low. But it does have something I was thinking about today is what does that mean for the border?
For who?
For the border. I mean, will we see not checkpoints in what we of pass, but health checkpoints to prevent people either leaving the Republic to travel into the north? Or...
I don't want to sound like the conspiracy theorist guy, but Israel today just announced that you can't go into a gym, you can't go to a hotel, you can't go to a swimming pool without a vaccination bracelet, right?
They also announced tags as well for people who've travelled, which,
Yeah, it's like, cows, the way they're tagged or sheep or get tattooed, when they're treated.
So I'll just put a tattoo here with your number.
Is there a way? I wonder, that'd be cool. Actually, that'd be great discussion for later on. Who's got tattoos and who has?
Yeah, anything that criminalizes someone before they've done, without them having done anything wrong.
I got ink everywhere.
And morally and ethically wrong, no question. Detaining people and all that's just wrong. However, anyway, so I'm just wondering then, and also just the other thing about, on a more serious note, was the Good Friday Agreement and the comment from the unionists as well that they are withdrawing.
I should listen. They've been dying to do it.
They've been mad to do that.
Yeah, Arlene left the P. Was it the P? Who was she with before?
But Sammy Wilson and Sammy Wilson
deliberately.
They never
deliberately to stay to avoid the Good Friday
Agreement. Gerrymandering all the time. These characters, you know. What I mean?
Does this highlight though a bigger serious issue with the protocol that isn't being discussed? I mean, are we at risk of that being squashed completely?
The Good Friday Agreement?
No, not Good Friday Agreement. The protocol around, the border. Sorry, the Irish Sea border.
I think, and this was mooted when Brexit first came in 2016 or whatever it was, that by default the DUP will probably be the people we'll thank, if you want to put it that way. In my case, yes, for a United Ireland.
Yes. We've always said that. We always said that they were our best asset.
Oh yeah,
I can't see that happening.
I can.
No, not in this lifetime. Not in this lifetime.
Well, I can actually.
You just muted yourself, Vanessa.
Sorry, apologies. We're going to have a unity poll within the next 5 years, and I would even say 3 years.
Yeah,
I promise you, we're going to have a unity poll.
I'm telling you now,
and it'll be Fine Gael will lead it.
If it was happen, I would hate to think return to darker times. Given the
No, it
sensitivity.
won't happen.
Anyway, but that's for another show. But the point I'm making is like this. Our
Let me
Cody's
give you an
today.
example of this, right? Now,
but just now, hang on a second.
Our special guest, you had a lad on Grafton Street.
You have no authority, Jackie
with
Weaver. You have no authority.
A firecracker. In the 70s, that wouldn't have been a firecracker he launched. It would have been something else. Actually, even in the 80s, it would have been something a lot more sinister than
and that's what I was going to get to talk to earlier.
Honestly, there were people telling it's not there. And listen. Honestly, the idea of us going back to early 80s, even early 90s, is not.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
And the will isn't there, and the skill isn't there.
Just go back to the 70s, and it was like people were trying to convince me there was a riot in Grafton Street, and I said, "Well, hold on." My concern, just to hark back to my previous point about the fascism, the jackboot fascism in Grafton Street, and Vanessa corrected me. There was apparently baton charges before, but I lived in the north in the 70s, and I saw actual fascism. I saw the British Army doing horrendous things to people doing their shopping and stuff. And I remember thinking, and it radicalized me a lot because I was from Navan, and 16 years old up in Oma, seeing this stuff happen, hearing about it on the news. But then when you're up there and see it, and you're in Derry and you see this stuff happening, and then you're held up and headed against a wall by a squaddy somewhere who doesn't like your accent and gives you a hit around the head because you got red hair, which I used to have incidentally, but anyway, that's a long time ago. But he
had a mullet.
Wouldn't happen to a Southsider though, Jimmy. That was they could hear the North Side in your accent.
North Side. Well, I'm an Navan man, so that was different slightly. But
I give you a story. I was actually just on the outskirts of Belfast the night Shergar was taken.
Stolen. There you go.
Yeah, and they held all the Southern Ridge cars.
They never found Shergar. Never found him.
The lost stud.
The lost stud.
He's there. Look at the bottom left.
That used to be my nickname, but anyway, hey.
But
go on.
But you couldn't drive up there with a Southern Ridge car. And even when I would be visiting, say if I was going into the Fallons, I was a regular there. I think I probably still am a member there, oddly enough. But because I used to do the accounts for the prisoners' wives, the different groups, and anyway, long time ago. But you'd find somewhere to put your car. Do you know what I mean? And
depending on where you were.
It's all gone. Now it's
Sandy Row is still a bit dodgy, in East Belfast if you got a Southern Red.
But I remember a while back, I was down at the Munster hurling final, and I remember the heat now, and all the Nordy Regis they come down, especially for the Munster hurling, especially if it's in Turles. And the lads, they've never changed, it's all as far as, and even in the movement, it's the island is the island is the island. And you find, even though when you're up there now, you still get a great sense that they know we're here and we're all here. It's just the oddballs like Sammy and Arlene.
Well,
they don't represent anybody themselves, folks.
But Vanessa, don't kid yourself. There are plenty of them. But just to close out this particular thing, I always wanted to put together a kind of treatment for a series about a fella called Northern Reg, who was Reg, and he was from the north. And
sounds like someone fluffy now.
And Northern Reg had a dodgy, well-restored 1975 Cortina, and he used to like to drive down the south. And he was always shocked at how civilized and advanced we were. But it's a treatment. It's a thing. It's just.
They couldn't get over the salaries. So I remember I came up for an event. I think it was someone's christening or something. And this was it was over 20 years. It was definitely before the teenager was born. And I loved this car. Actually, it was an Alpha 147, and literally there was lads out getting their photographs taken with this. They swear now I was earning $250,000 a year. There was a huge divide, yeah. But still, the best people to hang out with, the crack. I still laugh at jokes I heard 20 years ago in the Fallons, But anyway, let's move off this. Let's talk about Jimmy's favourite subject.
All right, here we go.
La 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 la.
We have a very special guest tonight. Some of you may be familiar with his work on the site. I'm just going to hand the reins, the virtual microphone to Vanessa, and because she'll give this gentleman an intro that he deserves, because he does deserve the full attention.
I'll sing it. Cross your heart, say I love you. Cross your heart and hope to die. Sorry, folks, I'm messing. We have the credit unionista Mr. here with us this evening, none other than Mr. Fluffy Biscuits. And now we are going to talk about the Eurovision entry for this year, but let's talk about all the Eurovision entries we've had over the year, because we have a double Grammy nominated musician, so you never know. Maybe he appeared on one of them.
My wife did. My wife sang at 4 of them.
Let's give us the songs, and I bet you Fluff and myself will know them. Anyway, hello, my babe. Are you there? Turn on your mic.
Can you hear me?
We can, yeah, we can.
This is Dublin. This is Dublin calling. How are you doing?
Deuxy pois. Okay, it's good, fabulous to have you on. Now, I have been trying to get him on for ages, and remember a few years ago you were ringing in actually from the mosh pit in, was that the last Eurovision, actually, the last live one? No,
I think that was 2018.
Well,
I was in there, mind you, I was fairly well on. I've been spending all day drinking in a port bar in Lisbon.
That's not what you told me on the phone.
I got interviewed.
It's up on the YouTube.
I got interviewed in Albanian television when I was drunk that day. The joys.
He is over 18, folks. So just make sure that. I come here. Let's talk about this year's Eurovision, and maybe then talk about how it's just gotten crap when we were winning year after year, and we had a bit of a spell. I think the songs we had in the 70s were way better than the ones we were winning with, by the way. And just a general gist of it. Well, they were. I mean, Red Hurley's song was brilliant. Like the lead up was fabulous. Well, anyway, fine.
Bone of contention.
Yeah.
No, well, this year they just announced this year they're going with, I think, scenario B, which means they're going to have all the artists are going over. There's going to be an audience. I think people are going to have vaccine certificates or passports, whatever you want to call them, socially distanced. It's going to be odd, but a lot of the countries have recorded backup tapes and rehearsal tapes in case there's a change to lockdown restrictions in Rotterdam during the course of the Eurovision. But yeah, a couple of songs. There's a couple of songs out now that have come out. The Irish song is out. We'll get to that in a minute. But there's a couple of songs that I've been listening to. Norway have released something that sounds very, very 90s. Extremely cheesy. A guy dressed up in angel wings. I don't think I've seen something like that before. The UK are sending James Newman.
Who's he?
He's a brother, I think, of a singer called John Newman. I think is a singer. He's hit the charts. He's doing pretty well.
Sing the song, Darcy. Do I know it?
I don't even know who he is. I only learned the other day who John Grant was as well. I'm so behind the times. And then we've also got who else also selected? France. I think France is a potential winner. Very Edith Piaf, called Voila. Very Edith Piaf. It's like a chanteuse. She gets really into character. She carries her voice really, really well. If you hear it, it's just a simple, stripped back song. I think that's going to do really, really well.
For Jimmy is dying here.
No. I was a fan of Eurovision, and I've been involved in a lot of the national song contests over the years. I don't have a particular problem. I think it's gone a little synthetic in terms of songwriting and stuff, a little formulaic, but
though, guys,
nice to hear Dennis talking about a stripped back. I'd like to see some more of that, some more classic songwriting as opposed to just production numbers,
Yeah, but what the teenager said that I asked her for her comments on this latest one now for the Irish one, but she said ultimately the song that wins is it is a song of substance. Now, whatever about the Israeli one in the one with the chickens now, I'm not so sure about that, but she does say like that the songs that ultimately win they're good songs. And by the way, folks, for me, Finland, I think, is the winner. It reminds me of back in the day when the Eurovision and Terry Wogan was the Telly event of the year. And I remember him saying when Lordy came on, he says, if there's like at this stage now, he's hammered. And he says, you know what? If there's any justice in Eurovision world, this will win. Of course, the lads go out with the big, and the rest is history, of course. But it is absolutely brilliant. It's a cracking song, and I can see it actually being a great summer festival song if we ever have a summer festival again. Anyway, sorry, folks. I'm butting in a bit too much here to the experts.
Can I ask Fluffy a question? Of course. And I don't want to get all serious for a minute, but I'm going to get all serious because Jimmy's made a point that a lot of music Puritans would say, and I'd kind of say that myself. It's not really a song contest, and the music's crap. It's not all singer-songwriter stuff the way it used to be. And
like John Walter's writing a song.
That was on the losing side, but sure, nothing changes for him.
Hey, he got a song aired in front of a huge audience.
I'm asking a serious question here. I'm asking a serious no authority, Jackie Weaver. Because I can kind of accept that the Eurovision isn't my. I'm not the.
That's not true. Neil is pretending that it's not true. He's as big a Eurovision gum as the rest of us.
What do you say? What do you say, Fluffy? Because people say, the voting's rigged now. It's all neighbours voting for all the rest. What do you say? What do you say to people like Jimmy and go on. Sorry, go ahead.
It's a good point. I suppose the first thing is the political voting is a myth. Is a bit of a myth. It does happen. I mean, countries that are closely aligned culturally are always going to vote for each other. I mean, if you're from Bosnia and your neighbour's Croatian, and you both speak the same lingo, naturally they're going to evolve and you understand the same language, the same artists. And by the same token, then as well, you're going to understand that a lot of the Eastern European bloc countries send their biggest artists.
Yeah.
And they send their singers who have absolute belters of songs. I mean, they have, like, say for example, in Russia last year sent their band Little Big, who are absolutely whatever the Russian equivalent of the Grammys is. They've won it 10 times over. So a lot of them would send their biggest stars, pretty much. And then there's also, but then again, we don't send our biggest artists. You know what I mean? The last couple of years we've sent relative, not unknowns, but
that's a good point. That's a good point, Fluffy. That is a good point, because when we did win it those 7 years in a row, it was our equivalent or our biggest stars here a lot of the time. It was, or in the 70s and 80s, the Red Hurleys, and but Dana was an outlier. Dana was kind of unknown, the first winner. Johnny Logan, of course. Johnny was one of our biggest stars here.
He won twice and wrote
that's 3. That's a good point.
3 songs. Is that right?
3 winning songs. Then Clyde came close to winning it as well with Terminal 3 as well.
Absolutely, and that was Linda Martin. But I mean, it's
Terminal 3
flights
on time.
But it's a good point. I mean, why don't we send our biggest stars? Why do we have this?
You send Bono out there, would you?
No, he wouldn't go. But our selection process has become faulty, I think. Fluffy, would you back me up on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, RT has always been apathetic for years towards it. I mean, I've had discussions with them at their fan forums, and I've emailed Michael Keeley, the head of RT Entertainment. I've kind of said, a couple of years back, I was involved in trying to revive the Castlebar Song Contest. The Castlebar Song, and we said, in particular at this point in time, tourism is on its knees at the moment. If you have Castlebar Song Contest, let's say in January, and you have, say, roughly a 25 song selection, you have an international jury, phone votes. I mean, look, you have a couple of local artists involved, international artists and stuff like that. I mean, look, it revives tourism. It's cheap TV, but you also get to see some Irish talent that you've never seen before. And to be honest, I mean, if you look at now, same way we're here doing, a live broadcast on Zoom or any other media like that. I mean, the cost of technology it's not that prohibitive anymore.
No,
especially for
live
broadcasting.
Why don't we do that? So it doesn't have to be the Castlebar contest. Why don't we do that? I'm sure I could get us a sponsor.
Well, Fluffy, you'd probably know. I think there's a license involved, I think, and you'd have to get the franchise, right? I think it's a great idea.
Well, the franchise, the locals, they would hand over the organisers would quite happily hand it over to RTA. I can tell you that now.
I think that's a fantastic
idea. Quite
idea.
happily do that.
On
but
a lot, On a musical
but
level.
If I rang the lads in Tralee now who are kind of backing me for something at the moment, and I'd say, lads, would you be interested in coming along and creating the Tralee National Song Contest?
Yeah, I mean,
it's just a town. It's just a name. Why don't we call it the Broadsheet National Song Contest? They're really keen.
John, the Freddie Keen songwriting competition.
I think they have enough controversy as it is without sticking the really game name on top of it.
I know.
But you know what?
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, look, you revive the Castlebar Song Contest, 20 songs, local artists. You can invite international songwriters. I mean, we've a wealth of talent here. If you look at bands like Walking on Cars, The Galaxy, The Coronas, Jack L. There's a lot of Irish talent out there. I was hearing about I was listening to someone who a friend sent me another some singer on Spotify I hadn't heard before. And then again, the Broadsheet, the artists are always featured on Broadsheet. Like there's a wealth of talent among them as well across a diverse range of music.
Absolutely.
There's no reason why that can't be used.
No, I think that's a great idea.
Why don't we do that, folks? I see I'm all about cooperation. Why don't we do it ourselves? Why do we wait for RTE to do it?
Well, what you would do is you would put together a proposal and make an agreement with them for broadcast. That's all you need to do. In fact, the Castlebar contest wasn't always broadcast. It was sometimes just live, but it would be a great TV as well. I mean, you'd have to. It wouldn't be that difficult to do, honestly.
No, I don't think it would. I think like you need a sponsor, obviously, for like the check for the winner and a platform. But you and I, when we were talking about the presidential campaign, we were talking just literally about a trailer going around the country on a trailer.
Sure.
The gig rig.
Absolutely.
I don't see why we can't do that. You see, listen, here, cooperation, folks. Come here. Let's.
Fluffy, I want to get in. Sorry, I want to get in. Just ask you, Fluffy, for Vanessa takes over. Are we a little bit bitter? Have we thrown our toys out of the pram here as a nation? That it's not like the good old days where we were winning all the time, and now we're a big fucking loser in Europe. Now we can't get anywhere on the leaderboard. It's like the Mick McCarthy era of managing the Irish football team, or the Brian Kerr era. We can't get anywhere. So rather
you're talking to a hoops man there. Now be careful.
Rather than facing the talent crisis, we're slandering the competition and saying, "Sure, I don't watch that." Sure, RT, you don't even want to put it on. Are we judging unfairly here? Do we need to self-reflect? Or where do you what do you think, Bill?
Well, Ireland has always kind of said that we were going to move on the basis of like we always think that we look back at the heydays of the early 90s and Johnny Logan, and we always think those formulas won at the time. But at the same time, now the whole music scene is very, very different. You've got things like Telly voting, you've got genres of music, you've got international stars who are well known. There's a lot of different factors that come into play. I mean, it was like going back to the point. I think it was saying what Jimmy was saying, like the stripped back version that Duncan Lawrence won for the Netherlands back in 2019. His song was a very, very simple song called Arcade, and on stage it was just him and a piano. And a very, very simple song. I
remember that, Fluffy. I remember
the Portuguese was very simple one. That was a fabulous.
But it won, and the Dutch one, and it was that. I think there's always room for that kind of quality in any.
Okay, Neil, what's this song?
Is that not every act?
I got my lipstick on, here I come. In fairness, that should have done better.
Ironically, they were loved. They were loved in Germany.
They should have done better. That was a great song. That was a great Eurovision song. I got my lipstick.
They finished 7th or 8th, I think.
They were the last we made it final. I'm guessing. But come here. Let's talk about our current entry, and then let's talk about our favourites, and then we have to get the story from Jimmy then about all his. Jimmy has to name drop every show. So anyway, here this is Rachel Roy, the girl from last year. What did you think of the song?
Last year or this year?
Well, last year's song, but it's the same girl. But this year's song, to mind last year's song, we won nothing last year with it. So,
well, the song last year was just formulaic. It was absolute pure balderdash. It was just like it's like someone sat down the back of a cornflakes box and scribbled down a couple of notes and a couple of lyrics in 5 minutes. It was terrible. this year, it was like, if you listen to the video, it's been auto-tuned out of existence. But if you listen to the live version, I think she done on the late last Friday, Leslie Wright, she did a superb job. Enunciated every word, it was clear, carried the vocals fairly well. And a lot of the fan chatter is kind of, a lot of the, after they hear the video, they're kind of like, oh, this is a bit rubbish. And then next thing you know, they're listening to the live version, and it's gone up in estimation. I think it was 150 to 1 with the bookies. I think it's now kind of, the odds are being cut, maybe 70, 60 to 1, maybe.
Oh, she could make the final then.
And in fairness, Fluffy, she's I don't know her that well, but she is a bona fide songwriter. She spent time in Nashville and she's done all this stuff. So it's a bit of a change of heart from RT to give her the opportunity to sing. She's a proper artist, professional, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, oddly enough, Fluffs there, the teenager had said that actually Rachel Roy is a better live performer than she is a studio artist. And just like, I suppose, I don't know, the teenager is a classical musician, by the way. I don't know where she got it. She get it from me anyway. I don't know where that came from. But so she has an ear.
We'll just do a Grammy check, Vanessa. How many Grammy nominations has the teenager got? Just out of curiosity.
She's going to kill me now. She's going to kill me now. Fuck this. Not at all. She has a chess medal. Sorry, no, okay. But look at that. Well, we wish Rachel the best, because the Eurovision, it's event TV, whether you like it or not, and it's whether it's just talking about it or laughing at it. It is an event TV, and it has, what is it, 50 years, Fluff? 60. How long is it going?
60, I think.
60 plus years.
There's a lot to be said for events that go on that long. And
also we're talking about the political stuff earlier. I mean, I think we need to get behind, as Fluffy was saying there at the Castle Bars, all the local talent, the Irish talent. Let's get behind it. Let's stop being such big.
Well, just to pick up on Jimmy's point there about the politics. I mean, it's always been political. I mean, some of the stuff.
Yeah, it's true.
In 1974, the Carnation Revolution started in Portugal, when they knew that they brought down Salazar, and they knew the soldiers would be watching the Eurovision. So when the Portuguese song "Come On," that was a sign to start the revolution.
That's
Carnation Revolution started and ended the dictatorship in Portugal. Like, there's countless other examples, like about Franco buying votes and stuff like that I can give you, but that's just one classic.
Yeah, but there was also sort of the familial kind of the nudge one, like Sweden and Norway would be swapping votes, or there'd be a crib the following year that Norway shortchanged Sweden or something like that. And of course, Terry Wogan hammed it up for years between us and them. And I think my favorite Terry Wogan line of all time is they were asking, why was Ireland doing so well at the Eurovision for a country, and they were showing the map of Ireland with with the counties cut out, and there was murder.
No, the 60s, okay.
And like, let's be honest with you, Terry was hammered. Like, when he hit the Eurovision, he was drinking from the airport. He was fun, and he goes, "Irish, sure, you know what it is. Sure, Ireland didn't invade anyone."
Good point.
But then the songs we had that won were good songs.
Yes,
they were.
Objectively.
Well, 500 million people or whatever.
Funnily enough, Rock and Roll Kids is only like in Ireland, it appears. Outside of Ireland, no one seems to like Rock and Roll Kids. That's the unusual thing.
That's one
it's a great song.
Well, it is, of course, 20 years ago. So I mean, zeitgeist, things change and whatever. But on a subject, it's very subjective. But certainly, as a musician, I could appreciate good songwriting no matter where it comes from, and I understand that sometimes it's of its time and all that stuff. But we sent very good songs a lot. I think latterly, when we went through that low self-esteem period after winning 7 times, where we just didn't.
Did we win 7 times?
Yeah. If we're not in, we can't lose, that kind of attitude. I thought that was our poorest type of sending dust into Turkey and all that. That's not fun. That wasn't fun at all.
Yeah, that's true.
I can tell you from an RTE insider that was set, that painted us to the EBU. We were in bad standing, I think. With
sure,
the EBU
that's an insult. That's
years.
That was an
It was
insult.
seen as an insult. And that went on for 5 or 6 years after entry, and that was somebody I know in RT who said that to me. That was saying, about
Was that Neil? Was it Neil who told you that?
It was very.
No, did we not Redeemer? And we sent out Jedward then afterwards.
John Walsh.
I know, no fairness. Lipstick on should have done better.
John Walsh wrote one of the entries for the national song.
He wrote,
John Walsh?
2007 Dervish, They Can't Stop the Spring.
John Walsh was co-writer of that song.
Gets a blasted with there, remind me.
I only remember he had a couple of words about something about to do with the archipelago and some very strange.
He said, what was it? The isopark. What was he say? He said something about the something about archipelago. But he said he mentioned he referenced throwing flowers of thanks or something like that. I can't remember. The lyrics were cheesy.
They were bad. They were pretty bad.
They were just.
You know what, lads? We should get Jim Carr to write a song.
Jim's a good Jim's a great songwriter.
He can write.
But then nobody ever does that. Nobody ever come like in Sweden for years. They had Max Martin involved, who was the top pop producer there. To come, back me up on this, Fluffy. I mean, they would get the best guys, get the best tunes. Get Per Andres and these guys to write who had huge pedigrees of pop success.
Well, Sweden.
But does it have to be a pop song though? I mean, in fairness, the more enduring songs.
No, it doesn't have to be. Well, when I say pop, not a jazz or not a, you know what I mean, not a classical.
And do you remember the story long ago? If your song was in Irish, you got an extra £1,000.
Well, we had Sandy with Ceol an Grá, which is a very memorable song.
She only died last year, actually.
She did. I knew her, actually.
Was it her brother in the band? We knew them as the singing butchers. The Raw Butchers or something.
That's right. Her brother is.
They used to do. You won't believe me, this, folks. But they used to do all the credit union gigs.
He lives in Crumlin.
Yeah, they used to do all the credit union dinner dances because they had the music for all. I know we've had good laughs with them now. They were a great dance band, And
he's actually a really talented singer. I played in his album, but
they had everything right. And the one thing is that then when the old fellas were going up to do their Tom Jones and everything, they knew exactly what to do. It's an Irish thing and it's a gift in its own way. But I want to know the song. I want to know what Jimmy played on, and I want to know what Jenny.
I played on many of them, but my wife Jenny, she went as the backing vocalist for 3 entrants, and you know what? I can remember one of them or 2 of them. Liam Riley, but I don't think Liam sang it. It was a girl called Kim. Somebody sang it in Rome. Do you remember that, Fluffy? That's 20 years ago.
1991.
It is, yeah. There was.
Yeah, she sang back vocals. She went to Israel in Tel Aviv.
Oh, was it? Oh, I think I know.
It's definitely Kim. It's definitely Kim.
And then she went to
me now.
The last song I remember from 1990 was in Jerusalem. Before the last time we were.
The Irish entry, relax.
The Mullins, When You Need Me. Was that a 1999?
I can't remember, but also she did.
No, there was a Kim went, all right. I didn't know Liam Riley wrote that song.
Yeah, Liam wrote that, and he recently died. And then she went to Moscow as well with a rock band that I knew, an all-girl rock band, about 10 years ago only.
Oh, 2009, yeah, Black Daisy.
That's them. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Black Daisy, that's the one. And do you know that song you mentioned, Vanessa? Do you know if you listen to that, it actually sounds like I want to be a polar bear, being a polar bear is what I want to be.
Oh, was that 77? Israel won. Was it 77 or 78?
They won. Actually, they won 2. I think it was 2 years in a row, and then they couldn't hold it the following year because it was too.
It was too expensive. They won it. No, they won it. It was Hallelujah.
Fluffy, I'm going to check you out here, Fluffy. The second most
Kim
Jackson. Kim Jackson. The second most.
Could you be I'm in love?
Is that the song?
That's what it says here.
Oh, okay. You Google it. Okay. The second most successful song over the last 50 years, after ABBA's Waterloo, didn't even win the Eurovision. Do you know what it was?
Oh, it was Congratulations.
I'd say Nidi Pinto di Blue. Volare.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, really?
That were all. There you go.
Was that the Eurovision?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So
Dominic Morenfo, I think, was the. Oh God, I didn't.
Did Congratulations win? No,
it didn't win, but it's been a very successful song. It was Cliff Richard.
Jesus, everyone sings it.
Yeah,
Fluffy, can you answer this for me? Because I'm writing a pub quiz at the moment. What was the first non-European country to take part in the Eurovision?
Israel.
Israel was the first.
We could say Israel. Although Morocco.
When I was a little child.
Jackie Weaver, will you give the man a chance to speak?
Morocco took part in 1980, believe it or not, but they finished last.
Wow.
They have a song called I can't remember what it was translated, but it was sung by a singer called Samira Ben Said. I don't know what the song was called, but she finished last in 1980.
Were you even born in 1980?
No, I was born in 82. You're putting years on me.
So Fluffy, just to clear up, so the Irish, there is an Irish contingent going to Holland, is that right?
There's an Irish the official stance is there's an Irish contingent going to Netherlands, going to Rotterdam. It's only a max of 20 people, including the head of delegation, and they will all. I think they're going to record a backup rehearsal tape in probably RTA just in case the plans change. So in case we get a fourth or a fifth wave. So it'll be a kind of socially distanced, smaller. There won't be a crowd, particularly, right? There's tickets that'll be available, but I think it'll probably be a local crowd. But it's going to be socially.
Neil is getting greener and greener there, which is sing a song he knows.
No, hang on. I'm curious now about this. So it's going ahead in the middle of a pandemic,
socially distant,
limited, socially distant, and all that stuff.
Sing about masks.
Will they have to quarantine?
Yeah.
I wouldn't like quarantining in Holland, would you?
I mean, I think the plan is so give you background. So it's going to happen on the 18th, 20th, and 22nd of May, right? And what's going to happen is that they're going to have they have 4 plans. They're going to have Plan B. And so they'll have socially distanced events, and the artists presenting, and then what they'll have is they'll have like what's the way I'm looking for? They'll have about max of 80% capacity in the on site, and then the press center will be virtual, I think.
80% capacity. I mean, what's the capacity? Is there a few hundred people or thousands of people? What?
Yeah, but they might insist everyone's facts. So.
Well, they have. Well, the way I'm just looking here, I'm actually just having a look. So,
are we going? So that's all I want to know. Frequent
COVID testing. I won't get out of the country. I have to book time off. Actually, there's any delegation that use a live on tape. There will be 9 shows, 6 dress rehearsals, 2 semi-finals, and a grand final. Either with no audience or reduced audience. It depends on local government guidelines. So I think that's a bit risky, to be honest.
So Miho Martin couldn't go to America, and this is now an essential trip for all those singers.
Yeah, but I mean, Eurovision. Hang on, now Eurovision is an essential service.
There'll be
him handing a bowl of shamrock to Joe Biden, who doesn't even want to know.
Okay, just before you get Fluffy leaves, most importantly, Fluffy, these have been tough times financially, unprecedented times, if you will. I have a spare 20 quid here. Who am I going to put it on? Will I have a flutter? Would you give me the tip?
I would say a tenner on France, top 5. And if I was going to take a chance, I was a betting man to win, I'd say Iceland. Iceland have produced the goods last year.
It's a great song last year. Again.
Iceland to win.
I think Iceland's going. Iceland or Lithuania again, but I think it's Iceland.
I'm going with Finland, so I'm going with Finland, folks. I'm putting my 10. I tell you what, this form is here.
You see, I'll
put down 20 quid, so that's 80 yo-yos.
That's a problem. That's a problem because I'll go with the expert. You see, Vanessa.
Yeah, that's fine. You've picked yours. You've picked your horse. Now that's fine. I put mine 20 on Finland.
I think I'll use my 20 to get a slab of Guinness and Dunslows.
Yeah, but you see, if you put your 20 on a country, put it on Rachel there, la. Put your 20 quid on Rachel. Or split it, go each way.
The year Conchita won, I got her 150 to 1.
Yeah,
and put a 5 on.
150 to 1.
Put a fiver on.
Nice one.
That was a fabulous song.
150 to 1.
But the performance that night was out of this
I was
world.
there.
Yeah, you
I
were.
was at that semi-final.
Yeah, but the performance that night was brilliant. I think one of my favorites is this Greta's mother, by the way. One of my favorite Eurovision songs.
You sang a song.
My office here.
Hold on.
Fluff and I paid
Hold on.
this. We were singing that, and we
hold on.
drink.
Greta Thunberg's mother sang in the Eurovision.
Is am I right? For Sweden, is she the girl that sang the song that Terry Wogan said? There's a bit too much purple going on. Take me to your heaven. Reach among the stars. Is that her mother?
No, that's Charlotte Frelly. That's Miss Plastic Fantastic. No, her mother is Marlene Ehrman. She sang in 2009. And believe it or not, she's of Irish descent. I think her grandmother was Irish.
Wow.
But the best people are Irish.
Of course. Irish.
Make no mistake. Okay, come here. I'm going to go around to Jimmy. What's your favourite Irish song and what's your favourite Eurovision winner?
My favourite Eurovision winner would have to be my friend and mentor Shea Healy's "What's Another Year."
What's another? That's Dennis. That's Fluff's as well. What's another year for someone who's loved?
Beautiful.
Sorry,
sing it out. Sing it out. One single.
Go on. Well, yeah. That actually is the song of Eurovision, isn't it?
I think
it's 50, 60 years. Yeah. Come here. Could we get Johnny on the show?
Sure. He lives in Ashbourne. Yeah. Sure thing. I'll ring him.
I think we should.
Oh my God. Oh. Are you serious? We could get Johnny Logan on the show.
Sure.
Lads.
His son was one of my students in DIT.
Oh, Jesus.
And Johnny's an old friend. I mean, seriously.
See, you're too busy dropping all these bigger names. Johnny's the man. Do you know what? I'll even wear me white suit.
Sign me up.
Spit me, Dickie. Sorry, and what's your favourite year? All right, obviously that's the favourite Irish song. That's a double header there. You got with the Irish song and winner.
Yeah, that would be it. That's both. Yeah, it was a wonderful time, and Shea's a wonderful man, and I thought, and Johnny's a great guy, even though he gets an awful time. He's a fantastic singer.
Who gives him a hard time? Who gives that man a hard time?
The Gogno Shanty, the hipsters, and he's a fantastic singer. He's a great performer, and he's a lovely guy.
Neil, I'm telling you, you have to get him on there.
Well, Jimmy, do you remember he did a great song years ago for the hit called "Praying"? I thought he did a really good cover. Like he did it in kind of like a metal.
Oh yes,
song.
yes,
really good song.
Yeah. Well,
he's really good.
Right now, you're going to hear now, Jimmy produces.
Well, he works like before COVID, 6-9 months of the year in Denmark and Germany, and he's a rock star in Germany. Turkey, he's enormous in Turkey.
He's a rock star here. He's a rock star here. He's a rock star of the show.
We don't like our own. We're not good with our own. You know what I mean?
Well, that's true. Yeah. That's it. You're dead right. Yeah. So come here, Neil. What's your favorite?
You see, it would be unfair if I was to have a favorite when I'm not a fan of it. But I think I have to give it to Johnny Logan and his "Hold Me Now." I mean, the song has. Me now. I didn't really want to sing it. It wasn't a request, Vanessa, but thanks.
Hang on now a second. You can't. You. Did you know what, Neil? Now you simply cannot introduce an Irish Eurovision song and not expect people to sing it.
But you know what? He was a pretend James Bond. It was like, your dad's friend who's the good-looking fella in the bunch down the bar. Your ma be saying, "Oh, Johnny's he's a fine thing, is he? But he buys his clothes in pennies or in
yeah. The arse of the pants. What? He didn't have an arse.
A sale on the white leather trousers.
That's what I'm saying. They're selling white leather suits and pennies.
Oh, Jesus, would we get him in his leather pants? Jesus, I wouldn't be able.
But he did that. It was like he was able. He had the suaveness. But I mean, I don't know. I'm only taking the piss, but you could see him doing karaoke night every Tuesday in some random bar in the Submarine in Crumlin, and Vanessa goes in there all day.
Johnny's set up in the Submarine.
But
That's the Chief of Wheat, I think.
But I do. It's outside of Ireland, though. Sorry, Fluffy.
No, go on.
Outside of Ireland, there was that entry. I don't know what country it was. They did a heavy metal song in
Lordy, Finland.
Lordy, yeah. That was a bit of crack. Hard Rock Revolution.
That's one of my Terry Wogan moments, actually. And do you know the thing about the Hold Me Now was Johnny. Do you know, if you think about it now, he'd gone through a bad patch after the Eurovision win with What's Another Year, didn't he? Like there
Absolutely,
was and then he had the strength of character to write the song and put it back out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot.
That's a tremendous.
Few people would do that. Would come back.
That's a tremendous strength of character. In fairness,
after such a gap, but that
8 years.
There's something incredibly unique about that. It's almost ubiquitous, like, you know what I mean? It's a once in a generation type thing.
Sure, there was. I think he was on RT before, and he's mentioned about he was living, I think, by himself in a flat in London, and he mentioned, I think he had
just Johnny, if I only knew you were on your own.
You can hold him then.
Hold me then.
But,
hold me beer. That's what it is.
Hold me beer.
And do you know what? I'm pretty sure he's age appropriate, so there's no.
Oh no, there's nothing untoward.
He's aged really well though as well, hasn't he?
How old is he? Just make sure that I'm not
he's in his mid-60s. But I mean, he was. We did a thing in the Gate. He just November last year, tribute for Shea Healy, and Johnny came over very kindly and sang, and he looks great, and he sings great, and he's.
Why didn't you tell me? You dirty.
Well, just hang out. I get you comps, Vanessa. Just hang out. You come in with me. It's cool.
Why don't you tell me this after? You see, Jimmy now does be mortified with me. You see, when he's with all his star friends, he's there, like, oh my God, look at him! Oh Jesus, he's handsome. Do you know what he looks like? He looks like one of the Vikings. You know, the TV show.
Vikings, there you go. But see, there's an unwritten rule, and Fluffy probably appreciates this when you get backstage with those people. You just don't be. Best ignore. Just say nothing. Don't gush.
I'll give them.
So if you could turn off your gush, the gush mode, that's kind of good.
I'm approaching middle age. I'm approaching middle age. That just happens to me anyway.
Oh, Jesus. I'd love. Do you know what, folks? I'd love to be able to say I'm approaching middle age.
Oh well. No.
Well, I can let you know what it's like.
Well,
okay, Fluff, what's your favourite Irish entry and your favourite Eurovision winner?
Oh, my favourite Irish entry, probably Rock and Roll Kids. I mean, come on, that's the classic. I sing it when I'm hammered.
Fairness, yeah. Great.
I know. You sing a lot of things now when you're.
Well, I do. I do. And then my probably best winner. Oh, geez, good question. Probably Conchita. Really like Conchita. Because I saw her live on stage. She was superb.
Yeah. I imagine being there live was a very different thing, but the staging and the performance that night was, even when you look at it now, you're kind of still going, yeah, fabulous performers are.
Well, actually, do you know what a funny thing? Actually, probably one of the best songs of the last couple of years was the song, it was Cyprus 2018, the song called Fuego. A lot of countries have just copied that the last 2 years. This year, 2019, 2021, there's just been clones of it. It was absolutely great song. Finished second. Probably should have won, but absolutely brilliant song. And there's been clones of that left, right, and centre.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of there's sort of that cluster in the middle that kind of are all the same. But was it last year? Oh no, the year before, obviously. Do you remember the Danish? I actually went in. You were there, and I went mad for the Danish guys. It was like an operatic, theatrical performance, and it actually crapped up. I think it got third in the end. Very effective. I think the songs of the 70s were the best, and do you remember the Duskies, Sandy Kelly and her sisters? Mm-hmm. Awful lots of, well, sorry, I shouldn't say it's nonsense, because it was important to them at the time, and they were all grafters, they were all working musicians, so I shouldn't laugh at them.
Still are.
I think for me the sort of the best Irish song, which was a show band effect as well, was Tina, because I'm going to say Tina anyway, but the whole like we could do Neil, as our song, we could do that as our song. La 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 la. Cross your heart, say I love you. Cross. I do remember the hair and the dress. Oh, I'd love the dress. I wouldn't get into it, mind you. I thought that was a great song, and I thought Reg Hurley's song was the orchestration on that was brilliant. You swear I knew anything about music now.
Believe it or not, Ireland at the time was very contemporary. I mean, they mentioned, I think it was 1968, 69, I think it was the Muriel Day sang Wages of Love, and that was very, very contemporary. Like, that was very like
who's that?
Muriel Gray, yeah.
Muriel Day.
Yeah.
And she was she sang, it was a year before Donna won, and it was an absolute superb song. And that was very much kind of contemporary song at the time.
I do remember that, Fluffy, because it raised problems because Muriel was a kind of a well-known Northern Protestant, and people were kind of saying, why is she representing the South?
Oh, that's a very RTE 1970s reaction.
Yeah, well, it was people too. It was very, very volatile times. Let's remember.
Yeah, but
the BBC did the exact same thing. It was 71, 72. They sang Clodagh Rogers. They got on to appease. They thought when
Clodagh, same thing. Clodagh, of course,
what was her song?
Oh God. I remember. I'd probably remember. It's not coming to me now. But that was the same thing. She was living and working in the UK, but she was an Irish woman. Yeah.
She was from Warren Point.
Warren Point, yeah.
In Northern Ireland, and what happened was, because of the height of the tensions at the time, they figured sending Clodagh Rogers at the time, it would appease kind of any issues that were there.
Should they had Terry Walton
Jack in the Box.
Oh, yeah. Oh, was that her song? That's a fabulous song. That was your man wrote that.
Phil Cool, no, not Phil Cool.
Was it Cool Filter not write that? No,
he might have written that. Actually, he wrote Congratulations. Yeah, he wrote
the Sandy Shaw song.
I'd love for us to be talking the Eurovision.
I was watching you go. Agreed.
I'd love it if we did a 24-hour special, but unfortunately we can't. So
you wait now. Hang on now. No, Neil. You wait now till Johnny Logan's on this show.
Well, you know what? He'll be waiting such a long time.
He will not listen.
I had to get that in there. Sorry.
I'll wear. Do you know what? Fluff? We'll wear those frocks. Do you remember we got those Nolan sisters dresses?
Oh yeah, I'm broadcast live. I'm dressed in drag.
We put Neil in the other one.
I've even got my drag name, Sister Eckley.
Yeah, listen, we're all set, lad. Johnny, we're all set.
I'm glad you started there. Johnny Logan's definitely coming on now.
And I think my winner, one of my favorite Eurovision winners is the Brotherhood of Man. And I think they were great singers. Looking back now, they were huge stars then, weren't they, Jimmy? The Brotherhood, they had a huge star. And then that Swedish song, "Take Me to Your Heaven and Reach a Man."
But that's an interesting thing that Fluffy he averted that earlier on, that those people, all of those entrants from the UK and
huge stars,
were all Brother Man, we're on top. Not my cup of tea, particularly. I was into T-Rex then, but I mean, they were on top of the pops every frigging week. Those people, you know what I mean? They went there.
But the winner of the Eurovision then was always on top of the pops the week after.
The week after, of course, yeah.
Yeah, and they were kind of pretty.
No, I'm saying, but Ireland we just got used to trying to think outside the box, which is the worst thing to do in something like that. Just think inside the box, get something that's really good. Don't reinvent the wheel. Have a great tune, have a great performance, have a great singer. It's and that's the best you can do, you know.
Yeah, there is a formula. Is the best song, the best singer available to you at the moment.
I can't think of one, and maybe Fluffy will help out here as well. But you're being a particular fan, Fluffy. Well, I wouldn't be a fan. I'm aware of it very much, but I can't think of one horrible, stupid, bad song that won the Eurovision. You know,
that chicken one was terrible. Sorry, folks.
I was going to say Vanessa's going to kill me here, but I always hate Finland.
Lordy.
I hate that song.
Okay, but that is a bit of an outlier. But I think
It's
it was
performance art, maybe.
performance art and heavy metal, and it was a hit records all over the world afterwards. So yeah, the metal man. But in general, so that tells me that a great singer, a great song, a great performance equals a winner. So that's the very bottom of the.
Look who came out of Eurovision: ABBA, Celine Dion.
There you go.
Like they're. We laugh at it. We laugh at it, but nobody should be laughing at it.
Well, it's
Sorry.
Just to interject, there's been but there's also been some famous artists who tried. Alana Miles, remember she sang Black Velvet?
That's her.
She tried to represent Sweden one year.
Yeah, yes.
She tried to represent Sweden one year, and then you've had Bonnie Tyler. You've had a lot of kind of big names kind of taking part.
I don't think there's anybody, any big star would turn down the opportunity to appear. It's whatever.
It's a huge audience.
The audience is what 300 million on the night, something insane.
And if you write a song and gets there, can you imagine the royalty? Jimmy would know better the value of the royalty, but the royalty of playing your live song.
Hundreds of euros, probably, Vanessa. Hundreds.
Stop it. It's more than that, isn't it?
No, it's just the one play alone, because it's such a big demographic, is worth a lot of money. But it's a money spinner.
And then if you win, it's paid twice. So like if you get 100 grand for your song to get there just to play, even if you just make a show of yourself.
But publishing is not what it was. That's another conversation.
Well, I know, I get all that, but still. I'm still singing it after. I was 30 years old ago.
On that note, it's been lovely talking about it. We'll do a follow-up.
We'll do Eurovision.
A big shout out, and it's all serious now. Big shout out and thanks to Fluffy Biscuits, regular contributor to Broadsheet, for joining us tonight, and not having us have to endure Vanessa preach about the Eurovision. So it's nice to have somebody who's a little bit more balanced. So thank you, Fluffy, for that and for easing the pain. No offense, Vanessa.
They're getting mansplained there now.
Mansplaining.
And so just leaves us to thank our panelists tonight. So the Countess of Crumlin, Vanessa Bourne. Thank you, Vanessa.
I think I'm going to have to change that now, to something else, a bit more Eurovision-y,
The Duchess of Drimna. No.
I should just go back to my day job.
And then our man who puts the side in the north side, Jimmy Smith. Thanks, Jimmy.
Representing north side. J-Dog, the J-Dog. Here he is.
And no name dropping tonight. It was Fluffy that did them all.
There you go. Thanks to those of you who joined us in the chat pit and in the comments, particularly JDF Reality and Ben Black. We'll be back next week. I know we're going to say that anyway, whether we are or not. We will be back next week. We're back on this. Well, the site's back tomorrow, and the site never sleeps. Thank you for joining us. Stay safe. Don't go to any parties in Limerick, and be good. And we will see you again. Bye.